If something happens, everything transfers cleanly, right? He asked it, like a man confirming a reservation. Calm, precise. Almost bored. The lawyer on the other end hesitated. Yes, Marcus, as long as the documents remain unchanged. Good, Marcus said, lowering his voice as footsteps echoed somewhere down the hospital corridor. I just like things organized. He ended the call before the silence could judge him. Inside room 9, his wife was fighting for her life. Emily Hale, 28, 8 months pregnant. Complications that escalated too fast, too suddenly. One moment, it was discomfort. The next, it was sirens, blood pressure crashing, doctors speaking in tones that didn't invite questions. Marcus stepped into the room briefly, just long enough to be seen. He brushed a strand of hair from Emily's forehead. You're going to be fine, he said softly. Her fingers weakly curled around his. She tried to smile, trusted him without question. That was the hardest part to look at, so he didn't look for long. I'll be right outside, he added, already stepping back. Always right outside, never too close. The hallway smelled like antiseptic and quiet panic. Machines hummed behind closed doors. Nurses moved quickly but never ran. Like chaos had rules here. Marcus leaned against the wall, scrolling through his phone. Messages unanswered. Notifications ignored. His mind wasn't there. It was somewhere else. Calculating. The house in his name. The insurance policy finalized just weeks ago. The quiet conversations with his mother about what-ifs. He told himself it wasn't wrong. It was practical. Responsible, even. Life didn't wait for grief. A pair of doctors rushed past him into the room. The door swung open for a second, just enough for him to hear it. Her pressure is dropping. Then it shut again. Marcus exhaled slowly. Not panic, not fear, anticipation. His mother arrived 10 minutes later, heels clicking with purpose. Any update? She asked. They're working on her. Gloria nodded, unfazed. And the paperwork, all handled. Good, she said simply, like they were discussing dinner plans instead of a life unraveling. A nurse glanced at them as she passed. Just for a second. But it lingered enough to feel like something had been noticed. Marcus straightened slightly, adjusting his expression. Concern, tension. The right mask for the moment. Time stretched. Minutes turned heavy. At 1:42 a.m., everything changed. The door burst open. Crash cart! The word cut through the hallway like glass. Marcus stood still, watching, waiting. Inside, voices rose. Orders sharpened. Movement turned urgent. Emily's heart had stopped, and for a brief, unguarded second, Marcus felt it, not grief. Relief. It slipped in quietly, like something he'd been expecting but never admitted. The end of uncertainty. The closing of a chapter already halfway finished in his mind. He quickly buried it under a frown, under tension, under the version of himself everyone expected to see. He ran a hand through his hair. This can't be happening, he muttered, loud enough to be heard. His mother placed a hand on his arm. Stay composed, she whispered. People are watching. He nodded. Of course they were. They always were. Inside the room, the fight continued. Minutes passed. Long ones. The kind that stretch until they almost snap. Then, silence. A different kind. Marcus looked up, heart steady. The door opened. A doctor stepped out, face unreadable. We're still working, he said. It's critical. Marcus swallowed, nodding slowly. Do whatever you have to. The doctor held his gaze for a moment longer than expected. Then turned away. Marcus exhaled again. Almost there, he thought. Almost done. But life doesn't follow plans that easily. At 2:03 a.m., a faint sound broke through the tension inside the room. A heartbeat, weak but real. Then another. Marcus didn't hear it directly, but he saw it in the doctor's posture when he stepped out again minutes later. She's alive, he said. 2 words, Sybil. Final Marcus blinked. Something in his expression faltered. Not grief this time, not relief either. Something closer to disappointment, quickly reshaped into gratitude. Thank God, he said, but the words came a second too late, and everyone in that hallway felt it. The hallway outside room 14 wasn't loud. It was tense, the kind of tension that hums under the skin. Machines beeped behind closed doors, footsteps echoed in controlled urgency, and somewhere in the distance, a monitor alarm rose and fell like a warning no one wanted to hear twice. Inside room 14, a woman was fighting to stay alive. Outside, 3 people waited. Nurse Alina noticed them early. Not because they were disruptive, but because they were too still. Too composed for people whose world was supposed to be collapsing. The husband stood closest to the door. Daniel Reed, early 30s, well-dressed, even at 2 a.m. His sleeves were rolled neatly, not frantically. His expression was serious, but controlled, like he was managing a situation instead of fearing it. Next to him stood a woman in a fitted coat, Vanessa, introduced as a colleague. But the distance between them didn't match the title. Every so often, Daniel's hand brushed too close to hers. Not accidental. Not entirely hidden either. On his other side, his father leaned against the wall, arms crossed, watching everything like a man, waiting for a business deal to close. Inside the room, chaos had rules. Doctors moved quickly, voices sharp and precise. Pressure dropping. Prep for transfusion. Stay with me. Stay with me. The patient's name was Claire, 26, 8 months pregnant. A complication that spiraled without warning. 1 minute stable, the next critical. At 1:17 a.m., her condition worsened. At 1:21, the crash cart rolled in. Alina stepped out briefly, chart in hand, when she heard it. Not loud, not meant to be heard. Daniel's voice, low, measured. If this goes the other way, the insurance clears immediately, right? His father didn't hesitate. Within days, Vanessa shifted slightly, glancing toward the door. And the house? Daniel exhaled, like the question annoyed him. Already transferred. I handled it last month. Silence followed. Not shock. Not hesitation. Agreement. Alina stood frozen for half a second. Inside that room, a woman's life was slipping through trained hands fighting to hold it together. Out here, they were discussing outcomes like it was paperwork. She forced herself to move again. Back into rhythm, back into professionalism. But something had shifted. At 1:28 a.m., the doors pushed open. Clear. The sound cracked through the hallway. Daniel didn't flinch. Not really. He looked up, but his expression didn't break. It adjusted. Concern carefully placed. Vanessa crossed her arms tighter. The father checked his watch. Time dragged. Each second stretched longer than the last. Alina moved between stations, but her attention kept drifting back. Watching. Listening. At 1:36 a.m., Daniel spoke again, quieter this time. I just need this to be over, he muttered. Vanessa nodded. It will be. Not hopeful, certain. Inside, voices rose again, faster, urgent, then suddenly, nothing. The noise dropped. Not completely, but enough to feel wrong. The kind of quiet that doesn't mean peace. It means something is about to end or change. Alina felt her chest tighten. Then, a single sound, a faint, fragile beep, followed by another. Inside the room, movement shifted. Not frantic now. Focused. Something was coming back. At 1:42 a.m., the doctor stepped out. His face gave nothing away at first. Daniel straightened immediately. Is she? She's alive, the doctor said. Silence. Real silence this time. Not the waiting kind, the caught kind. Daniel blinked once, then twice. That's good. But the reaction lagged. Just enough. Vanessa looked at him, not the doctor. His father uncrossed his arms slowly. As if recalculating something that no longer added up, Alina watched all of it. Every second. Every expression. Because sometimes the real story isn't inside the room where life is being saved. It's in the hallway, where people reveal what they were ready to lose. They're both stable. The doctor said it like a fact. Simple. Controlled, but the room didn't react that way. Both? Marcus repeated. His voice didn't rise, just slowed, like his brain needed an extra second to catch up. Dr. Lewis nodded once. Yes. Both babies. Silence stretched across the consultation room. It wasn't relief. Not yet. It was confusion. Marcus leaned back slightly, eyes narrowing. There's only one baby, he said. There's always been one. Dr. Lewis didn't correct him immediately. He let the silence settle first, watching every face at the table. Marcus. The woman beside him, Jade, still clutching her purse too tightly, and Marcus's mother, who had gone completely still. Your wife was carrying twins, Dr. Lewis said calmly. It's a rare case. One fetus was positioned behind the other in a way that made early scans appear as a single pregnancy. It's called a concealed twin presentation. Jade's grip tightened. That's not possible. It is, Dr. Lewis replied. We confirmed it weeks ago during a follow-up scan. It was monitored closely. Marcus's expression shifted. Not shock. Something more complicated. Something calculating. Why weren't we told? He asked. Dr. Lewis held his gaze. Your wife was informed. That landed differently, Marcus blinked. Once, then looked away. Inside the operating room, less than an hour earlier, everything had been chaos. Emily's condition had collapsed without warning. Her heart had stopped. For several minutes, the outcome had been uncertain. During the emergency procedure, they made the call. Immediate delivery. No time to hesitate. The first baby came out fragile, barely breathing. The second, stronger, hidden behind the first all along. Followed seconds later, 2 heartbeats, 2 lives, and somehow, that made the difference. Relieving the pressure gave Emily's body a chance to fight back. It worked now. All 3 were alive. Back in the consultation room, the truth sat heavy in the air. Both are in the NICU, Dr. Lewis continued. One needs respiratory support. The other is breathing independently. We expect both to survive. Marcus exhaled slowly, leaning forward, elbows on his knees. His hands came together like he was thinking through something far beyond what was being said. 2 babies, 2 responsibility, 2 complications. Jade glanced at him, searching his face. Not for relief, but for reaction. He didn't give her one. Marcus's mother finally spoke. And Emily? She's alive, Dr. Lewis said. But recovery will be long. She'll need support. The word support lingered. Marcus nodded slowly. Of course. But again, there was a delay. A small one. Just enough. Dr. Lewis noticed it. He noticed everything. The way Marcus didn't ask to see the babies immediately. The way his first instinct wasn't to move, but to sit and think, to calculate. The room fell quiet again. Not the same quiet as before. This one carried weight, because everything had just changed. Marcus stood up first. I need a minute, he said. He didn't wait for a response. Didn't ask where the NICU was. Didn't ask how Emily was doing beyond the basics. He walked out. Jade hesitated, then followed, but not too closely this time. Marcus's mother remained seated for a moment longer, her fingers resting against her necklace, her eyes distant. 2 babies. That hadn't been part of the plan. Outside in the hallway, Marcus stopped near the window. His reflection stared back at him, sharp, composed but different now. This wasn't the outcome he had prepared for. 1 child was manageable, predictable. 2. Change the equation. Behind him, the hospital continued moving, nurses passing, machines beeping, life continuing without pause. Jade approached carefully. What are you thinking? She asked. Marcus didn't turn around immediately. When he did, his expression was already fixed. Controlled again. I'm thinking, he said slowly, that nothing is as simple as it looked. Down the hall, behind thick glass and quiet machines, two tiny lives rested side by side, unaware that their existence had just rewritten everything. When Emily opened her eyes, the first thing she noticed was the silence. Not complete silence. There were still machines, soft beeps, distant footsteps, but the kind of quiet that comes after something has already happened. For a moment, she didn't remember. It came back in fragments. Pain, bright lights, voices overlapping, someone telling her to stay awake. Her hand moved weakly over her stomach. Flat, her breath caught. A chair scraped softly beside her. Easy, Dr. Lewis said, already leaning forward. He wasn't standing over her like before. He was sitting. That alone told her something had changed. My baby. Her voice barely formed the words. He didn't rush. Your babies, he corrected gently. They're alive. Tears filled her eyes instantly, spilling before she could stop them. Relief came first, pure and overwhelming. Then confusion followed right behind it. Babies? Twins, he said. They're in the NICU. Stable. Emily closed her eyes again, just to feel it, too. Alive. Against everything she remembered, when she opened them again, the question came naturally. Where's Marcus? There was a pause. Small, controlled, but she felt it. He's been here, Dr. Lewis said carefully. You've been unconscious for nearly 2 days. That wasn't the full answer. She could hear it in the way he said it. Emily didn't push immediately. Her body was too weak for confrontation, but her mind was already moving. Later that day, a nurse named Alina helped her sit up, adjusted her pillows, checked her vitals. Normal things, routine. But there was something in her eyes, something that didn't match routine. Can I ask you something? Emily said quietly. Alina hesitated, just for a second, then nodded. When I was in surgery, Emily continued slowly, was Marcus out there? Another pause. Longer this time. Yes. And? Alina looked toward the door, then back at her. I shouldn't please. The word wasn't loud, but it carried weight. Alina exhaled softly. There were conversations. Emily's chest tightened. What kind of conversations? Alina's voice dropped. About insurance. Property. What would happen if you didn't make it? The room didn't change, but everything inside Emily did. She didn't cry. Not this time. Her face went still. Completely still. Who else was there? A woman, Alina said. And his mother. Emily stared at the wall for a long moment. Pieces started connecting. Small things she had ignored before. Late nights. Unanswered calls. The distance that had slowly replaced warmth. Now it had a shape. Now it had meaning. Marcus arrived that evening. Flowers in hand. Expensive. Perfect. Like everything was normal. He stepped in with a careful expression. Concern placed exactly where it should be. Emily. She looked at him. Really looked this time. Sit, she said. He did. For a moment, neither spoke. Then she broke it. I know what you said. Marcus froze, just for a fraction of a second. But it was enough. I know about the insurance, she continued. The house. The plans you made while I was dying. His mouth opened, closed. That's not. Don't. One word. Sharp. Final, he stopped. Emily's voice stayed calm. Too calm. I was in that room fighting to come back, she said. And you were outside preparing for me not to. It's not what you think. Then explain it. He tried. Apologies came first. Then excuses. Then explanations that didn't hold under their own weight. She let him speak. Didn't interrupt, and that made it worse. Because when he finished, there was nothing left to hide behind. I died, she said quietly. For a moment, I was gone. He didn't move. And I came back, she continued. Not for you. For them. Her eyes shifted slightly toward the door, toward where her children were, two lives he hadn't even asked to see first. "I don't trust you anymore," she said. The words didn't shake. They landed exactly as intended. Marcus looked at her, searching for something. Emotion, hesitation, anything he could use. There was nothing, just clarity. "You can leave," she said. He didn't argue this time, because some truths don't leave space for it. When the door closed behind him, Emily leaned back slowly. Her body was still weak, still healing. But something inside her had become unbreakable. The truth hadn't destroyed her. It had shown her exactly what needed to be left behind. The room was quiet, but not the same kind of quiet as before. This one didn't feel heavy. It felt settled. Emily sat by the window, her hospital bracelet still loose around her wrist, watching the soft morning light spill across the room. In her arms, one baby slept. The other rested in the bassinet beside her, small chest rising and falling in steady rhythm. 2 lives. 2 reasons she was still here. The door opened gently. Marcus stepped inside. He looked different this time. Not composed, not rehearsed, just uncertain. Like a man who finally understood he wasn't in control anymore. "Can we talk?" he asked quietly. Emily didn't answer right away. She adjusted the blanket around the baby in her arms, making sure she was warm, secure, safe. Only then did she look up. "Sit." He did, slower than before. Careful. For a moment, neither spoke. The silence stretched, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was deliberate. Marcus leaned forward slightly. "I know I messed up." Emily's expression didn't change. "I said things I shouldn't have," he continued. "I wasn't thinking clearly. I was stressed, scared." She raised her hand. Not aggressively, just enough to stop him. "Don't do that," she said calmly. "Do what?" "Rewrite what happened." The words landed clean. Marcus exhaled, running a hand over his face. "I'm trying to fix this." Emily shook her head slowly. "You can't fix something you were ready to lose." That hit harder than anything she'd said before. He looked at her, searching again for softness. For the version of her that used to forgive quickly, she wasn't there anymore. "I was outside that room," she continued, her voice steady, fighting to breathe. "And you were outside preparing for me not to." Marcus opened his mouth, but nothing came out this time, because there wasn't anything left to say. Emily glanced down at her daughter, her fingers gently brushing the baby's cheek. The tiny movement, the quiet life in her arms, it grounded her, reminded her exactly what mattered. "I came back," she said softly. "Not for you, for them." Her eyes lifted again, meeting his fully. "And I'm not going to spend the life I fought for, wondering if the person next to me is waiting for me to disappear." Marcus's shoulders dropped slightly, the weight of it settling in. "So what are you saying?" he asked. Emily didn't hesitate. "I'm done." The words didn't echo. They didn't need to. They were final the moment they left her lips. Marcus looked down, nodding slowly, like part of him had already expected it, maybe even deserved it. "And the kids?" he asked quietly. "You'll be their father," she said, "but you won't be my partner." Clear, defined, no confusion. He nodded again, slower this time, then stood up. For a second, it looked like he wanted to say something else. Something that might change things. But he didn't, because he knew it wouldn't. He walked to the door, paused briefly, then left. No performance, no excuses, just gone. The room returned to quiet. Emily exhaled deeply, a breath that felt different from all the others before it. Lighter, freer. She shifted slightly, lifting her second daughter from the bassinet and holding both of them close. One on each side, balanced, complete. "They thought I wouldn't make it," she whispered softly. "But we did." The babies didn't understand the words, but they didn't need to. They felt her warmth, her heartbeat. the steady presence of someone who wasn't going anywhere. Emily leaned her head back against the chair, eyes closing for a moment, not from exhaustion, but from peace. Everything she lost had made space for something stronger, something real. When she opened her eyes again, the sunlight had grown brighter, filling the room completely now. A new day, a new life, and this time, she was choosing it.